Welcome to the Dirt Life podcast. We are back. I have a special guest here today, Mike Kervin from Leica Geosystems. Most of you know that this whole podcast is sponsored by Leica Geosystems, and I have Mike here. Mike, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Scott. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, can you give a very brief intro of who you are, your background, and what you do at Leica Geosystems?
Okay. Brief background. I'm a licensed land surveyor in the state of Colorado. I've been doing this stuff since 1989 in surveying and engineering in the construction field. And now I'm at Leica Geosystems in their heavy civil construction group. And I'm kind of educating people on reality capture, survey basic principles, and our surveying and our total stations and GPS receivers and our whole plethora of what we have to offer.
So I think for this episode, we're going to talk a lot about machine control and operators and contractors. So I'll kind of start there. Like with the contractor, I want them to know that they have multiple options for getting machine control, whether it's 2D, 3D. If they hire outsource someone to do all their modeling, like I think it's a lot to digest for someone who already doesn't use it, know a lot about it. So I just want to let people know all the options, that it's actually not that hard. There's people to help and kind of direct people in the right direction, just so they're not overwhelmed. So just explain a bit about kind of all that, if you remember what I said.
Yeah, I can. I'll do my best, and you know, I I am more of a engineer and a land surveyor. So when it comes to a lot of construction methods, means and methods, it's I've just been around the industry for a while. So I would always suggest, we talked about many times before, suggesting investing in your people, investing in training. Uh, Start getting to make sure that your sub consultants, whether it's a land surveyor, whether it's a construction staker, is doing what is needed when you need it and how you need it. So I think communication is probably the most important part of all that. Uh, there's a ton of ways people can get into the industry, whether you use a GPS receiver, uh, or whether you use a total station. You can get specific points. You might need a grade. So, in my opinion, the most important thing on a construction site is a tape measure. It's a technology guy saying that. A tape measure and a level. Slope equals rise over run, and shit flows downhill most of the time, unless you pump it. Like, just saved everybody 6 years of engineering school right there. No reason to go. So, you got a level, you got a tape measure. That's what you need. Now, and we have stuff from that, a laser that you could put in a pipe, and we offer things from ground penetrating radar that you can figure out what's underneath you, to reality capture products, scanning. You can get millions of points per second. So it's kind of where you want to take it. But my suggestion is get your feet wet with some technology. Find that leader in your group. And don't just find one, because the last thing you need to do is get that person all trained up, and somebody comes along and offers that person 5 or 6 more bucks an hour. Adios, amigos. I'm going to go make some more money somewhere else. So keep your people happy and train your people, and always train a few people at the same time.
The perception of machine control has changed throughout the years. It's now at the point where it's undeniable that it increases production and all the benefits of it. So I'm glad that we're not here today having to explain the benefits of it. I mean, that it's undeniable now. We all kind of know. My mission is to help people adopt it, get into it, invest into it, and use it correctly, or Maybe avoid making some major costly mistakes that leave a bad taste in their mouth when it comes to machine control. Um, as an operator, I like a machine control because I find it to be the simplest. Therefore, I want to push this out to other operators because I believe since it's the simplest, it will be the best. It takes less training, less time to learn how to use before you can actually be efficient with it. Um, what have you heard from operators about like a machine control? What are they saying?
Well, it is simple. That panel, the NC1 panel, is a pretty simple panel. So, and that's the most important thing that you can show an operator in the field what they're doing. You might program an offset in, uh, but in my personal opinion, your most important thing in machine control is your model, and that's coming from that's coming from somebody from my background. But you know, shit in is shit out. So you've got a bad model. You need to make sure that your operators not traveling down the road and you put a bad model in and all of a sudden that dozer kinks due to a hiccup in the model or stops because the model ends. So the most important thing in my opinion is getting that model done correctly. And the better the model is, the better checks you have on that model, the better experience your operator will have when they're running that machine.
So with Leica, they are a European company trying to gain more traction in North America. Well, they are. They're not. They're trying, but they actually are. Um, what are some misconceptions that maybe people think about Leica Geosystems because it's not as well known as some other ones? Maybe what are some things you're hearing about that?
Man, that's a heck of a question. And we have some pretty large construction companies that are starting to move the like away, and I won't even mention them, but they're they're the big dogs in town. But it's the reason why it's the simplicity of the use, and especially you know the the people in the dozers are starting to think that. The other things that Leica has always had, they've always been the foremost leader when it comes to technology, when it comes to total stations, when it comes to prisms, when it comes to GPS receivers. And Leica has invented uh, a new software system in the field. It's called the Icon software system that kind of runs the platform for construction staking in a
When it has to be right, you can trust Leica technology to help you get the job done and grow your business with their cutting edge technology. Training employees is challenging and expensive, but Leica's simple to learn, simple to use products allow you to get your workforce up to speed much faster. Trust me when I say Leica Machine Control will help you move more dirt more efficiently. For more information on Leica Geosystems solutions, please visit leica-geosystems.com. And we're back with Mike Kervin. He has a different background.
Yes, I had to go to a friend's house. I had a big pile of snow come off my roof and rip out my internet connection. So I'm at a good friend's house.
I heard at I think Con Expo, you guys had a booth there, and I kind of learned that there's a special ecosystem that Leica is a part of.
Well, Hexagon is Leica's parent company. And the great thing about Hexagon is uh, we have other companies like Oxbow.
Let's dive into Leica and the labor shortage. How does technology like Leica provides, whether it's machine control, whatever, to help the labor shortage? There's people leaving, people aren't getting into construction as fast as they used to. What is Leica doing, or what do they offer? How are they helping the labor shortage?
Okay, that's a great question, Scott. The most important thing that that Leica is a technology company, and what they've done is made the technology a lot easier to use. So years ago, when GPS first started, you used to have to use different satellite systems and post process stuff. And the evolution of technology keeps getting faster, better, and the quality is just getting, you know, the quality is just going out of the roof. So what they've done is make things for a more one person operation. And they've streamlined and started and integrating all different types of platforms together. So maybe that person in the office that's building the models can go out with the GPS receiver and do some grade checks. Maybe the person on the dozer needs to do some as builts. Uh, so instead of calling a surveyor to go do their as builts, they can either A, put their blade in a certain position and collect each corner of that blade for an as built position, let's say on a trench or something. Maybe it's a super wide trench, or they can get out and uh, grab a total station and use that total station because it's a robotic total station. So that's kind of how the world's going nowadays. It's going to an ease of operation, and because the technology is getting way easier to use.
So you think that it being so simple, that's essentially helping people get up to speed with it much faster than maybe in the past without technology? Like you would have to learn through experience to know how to push dirt, where machine control is now helping you because it essentially takes one skill of an operator and brings them to the next level. So if you don't have much experience, it can bring a person with not much experience and make them a not bad operator.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that goes from being an operator to being a surveyor, maybe a grade checker. And when I started, we had 4-person field crews, and nowadays, when I had my own company, we were down to one person in the field, and which helps with the labor shortage. So that's the greatest part about technology, which is it is a double-edged sword. Is what's happening now is you get these operators, surveyors, any sort of people in the field that have we're not passing our knowledge down to the next generation because we have we bid this job at a certain price. We're trying as fast as we can to make that deadline that we all agreed to come up with that to to get the project. So that's the one thing that's being lost is that that old person with the gray hair is not teaching the new person that's coming out all the little tips and tricks on what happens if the technology fails. So that's the only negative thing about all this awesomeness when it comes to GPS receivers and reality capture and total stations and all that stuff when it comes to the construction field.
I have been seeing that companies adopting certain types of technology like reality capture, it's changing how they do business. And I would like you to explain using the example of FAM construction. How is what they're doing changing essentially how they do business?
That that group, ever since we went, ever since we went there, they've just blown me away. They've taken construction to a whole new level, in my opinion. What they've done is change the workflow of construction. Now they were on a super tight corridor, and it was a design build. There's different types of construction projects. There's bid build, there's design build. There's a bunch of that stuff going around. But in their case, it was a design build. So the design wasn't always done when they were building those extra lanes on the I-66. The coolest part about that project is they took their scanners out every day. And as we talked about before, they scan that project, they scan that roadway, but they updated their DTM model. Their existing grades were constantly being updated once a week so they could figure out where they could shift lanes. They could figure out their new tie-in points. Because in construction, it's all about, moving as much dirt as possible, putting it in the right place at the first time instead of doing it over and over and over again. It's a great part about machine control. And it's about your limits of construction. And you want to tie into your limits of your construction. And that was the great part, what they were doing that I think was revolutionary is they had a brand new 10 model built every single week, which I've never seen that in construction ever.
So then they're the first ones that have really done this. So they're kind of leading the way with this new reality capture.
Hands down, hands down. And again, they couldn't do that with just lines, points, and arcs collecting as-built data. It's essentially that's really all they're doing is collecting as-built data to tie into. So instead of just doing one arc at a time and one point at a time, they're doing millions of points at a time coming back in, and they may just be extracting a line, but you know they're they're constantly keeping that existing 10 model updated. The 10 model, for people that may or may not know, is a triangular irregular network. And so years ago, how we used to draft, we used to put little bitty points on a sheet of paper, and you connect the lines with little triangles as you can. And slope equals rise over run, and you take the inverse of that, and basically, if you had a 98.2 contour point, and you had another point at maybe 99.5, you would know there's two contours interval between there. You put a little tick mark on, and then you just connect the dots. And, kind of like Pee Wee Herman always said, connect the dots, la la la. It's not hard.
So to do that by hand would be impossible, especially when you have to update it every week. In the past, that could never be done.
Never.
They're achieving this by using Leica technology and could not do it without it.
No way. No way. You can't do a project like that anymore. And we have we have another group that's actually at an airport right now. And if anybody ever read the FAA circulatory for construction or design or as builts, nobody would ever do an airport because some of the probability, it's almost impossible to hit some of their tolerances. So what a lot of companies are doing nowadays is they're going in with the scanner, they're scanning the existing conditions, and that's how they're getting their existing conditions, and that's how they're getting their as builts too. And the other great thing about that is, you can there's a lot of errors when it comes to uh, the FAA has a lot of airport traffic going on as well. So sometimes your Bluetooth doesn't work as well, or your Wi-Fi may not work as well. That's the great thing about a scanner. You set it up, you hit the do it button, it scans it, yeah, take it back to the office, you uh, dump it in your computer, and you're starting the draft.
Now, in construction, a big challenge is getting paid for work because you have to prove what you've done. Does reality capture give absolute proof into how much dirt you moved, or you built this here, how much material was moved or used or whatever? Does that help the proving process?
Absolutely, that's a great question, and I always like to talk about coordination between your client and collaboration as well. You've got your end client, maybe a city, a state, a DOT of some sort. The great thing about reality capture is it hides nothing. So you got a trench. You want to see the backfill on the trench. You want to see the over X, and that's why I say break out your scanner, scan it, scan and can the data. You may not always use the data, but if somebody needs to know how that process was built, you have a complete replica of that is you have millions and millions of points. So in and that the collaboration causes trust between you and your client and can reduce your RFIs from your engineering group. Uh, and it just maybe they put a different rebar schedule in there. Well, if you have a scan of it, you're not hiding anything from your client. You're giving your client an idea of what's been built at each exact time. And that's why I say scan everything you can. Put up a couple targets, scan it. You may or may not use the data, but you can keep that data in your database on a big hard drive and share that data with your client. And we have software that can do that. We have TrueView software where you can go out and scan it. You can get online. You can send that scan data to your client. You don't want them in there playing around with it, but they can do some measurements, some basic measurements. They can see what was actually built on the ground, which will help, when it comes to getting paid at the end of the month when you put in your when you put in your request for payment.
Now, I don't know much about this, so it might be a silly question, but when using a scanner, does it have to connect to like a control point or something to know its elevation? Like how does it know its elevation?
But it's all relative to itself. So you're scanning. It's all about line of sight. So you scan millions of points, and it's all about line of sight. Now, when you want to geosynchronize that data, putting a some sort of coordinate on it. A lot of times, what people do is they put up targets, black and white targets. So you have an XYZ position of that target, a northing, easting, and an elevation. Then you can take all that scan data and you know, the XYZ positions of each target. You want to do at least a minimum of 3 targets. More is always better. And it's just like doing the localization with the GPS receiver. And it just kind of takes that scan data, it kind of translates it, rotates all that data, and puts it on a coordinate system. So, and sometimes you don't even need to do that.
Yeah, I kind of always wondered how it knew where it was within the world. So that answered my question. Thanks for that. Besides FAM, I also did some stuff with Superior down in Florida. I seen that they are a huge Leica partner or customer. I'm not sure what to call them, but they use Leica for everything that I seen. Machine control. I don't know if they have any reality capture, but do you know?
I know a little bit about them. I was very fortunate to go down there and group uh, give their group a demo. We have another specialist, one of our guys in Leica, and he lives in Florida. And he's like, Mike, I'll love to meet you up there. So we went and met one of our dealers, which was Beard. Went down there and gave him a quick demonstration of what our RTC 360 could. So, and then we shipped them a video link. So, gave them an idea. They went home, thought about the purchase. It was a big investment for them, and they realized that with their airport job they could use it. So I shipped them a video. I said, "Watch this video. It's about an hour and a half long, and if you got some questions, call me and see what you can do." And that team they're super technologically advanced. So they watched the video and they went out and started scanning everything. And by just watching the 2.5 hour video, and they were registering the scan, they were putting it on a coordinate system, they were extracting what they needed out. And then after a while, they realized, hey, we're not quite using it to its full potential. Um, and we have a whole group of trainers at Leica, and you can pay some of these classes are $350, and you get some of the top reality capture experts in the world that are teaching these classes, and they called up and said, "Hey, we want to learn how to do some more extractions. We want to figure out how to get uh, a 10 model off of this in a quicker fashion than what we're doing it. So they called up, they signed up for an HDSU class. We had one of our uh, experts give them a class, and I haven't heard from them since. They've just been lighting the world on fire like they always do. So it's a good story.
Yeah, so for other people who maybe are interested in taking a course, whether it's machine control, whatever, where does a person go to find out about these courses? Like a dealer, like Beard, or who?
I always say start with your dealer, and sometimes there's some white space out there where you may not have a dealer. But so if you're not working with your dealer, you can always get on Leica's homepage and then start looking for some of these HDSU uh, learning centers as well. They also have Leica My World, so you can log on to My World, and there's a learning center in there as well. And there's times where I tell people maybe you're in the field, maybe you can't figure out something. A lot of times somebody has put a YouTube video of it. So YouTube University, somebody's always got something that they've tripped up on, and they're like, oh, I'm going to be a YouTube star. So they put a couple videos up, and even I've stumbled on a few things before and was out in the field where I really couldn't sit down and do an hour class. So I YouTube stuff, and bam, it's right there. And if I can't find it on YouTube, it's usually on the Leica website.
Do you know a bunch about the Leica dealers within the states and in different states, different regions, I guess? Like,
I know a little bit. So I'm most of our dealer reps. We have we broke them up into regions, of course. We have a western region, kind of a central region, and an east coast, and a southeast region. We have certain specific regional managers that deal with those, that deals with each one of our dealers. And I've met a few of them. I've probably met 60% of them. And when I get to go there, usually it's, I'm not hounding them on, hey, what you sell, how can we help you? I'm there kind of more as an education purpose for them, which is, a really cool position to be in.
why do you work for Leica? Like, without a bullshit answer, like, honestly, what do you love about Leica? Why do you get up every day and work for Leica, promote Leica, live and breathe it? Like, why?
It's I've wanted to come here for a long time. Uh, Being a surveyor, being a head office person, there's quite a bit of stress. Had a couple strokes, minor strokes, and the last time I had a small little stroke, I was like, what would I want to do to end my career? And where can I go where I can use my knowledge to pass my knowledge down and to teach somebody else, the younger generation, of what the technology can do and how that technology can change their life. And, honestly, get around people that are smarter than me, because that's the only way you're going to get better, is being around people that are better than you. And that's the big reason I'm here. It's not for the money. It's not for the glory. It's because it's pretty damn cool. It's a cool place to work at. And the people that are here all have the same mindset. And it's it's really refreshing, other than having to crank out work all day long, all weekend long, to meet some fictitious deadline that maybe some city set of some sort. That's the big reason I'm at Leica.
In your opinion, what should Leica be doing differently in North America?
Whew, never even thought about that before. I think we should be doing more education series. I think we should be reaching out and spending a little bit more time educating people about our product. Because once the education gets out there, people are going to realize how simple it is to use, and to not run from technology, run away from it, but to run towards it. If that's the one thing that I could give, That would be my suggestion. More classes.
What's next for like from your perspective in the next year, let's say, like what do you think they're going to come out with next? Or what should they come out with next?
You know, I think more of an integration with reality capture. Uh, and I think that what you're going to see is they're going to start simplifying some of this technology a little bit better. They're constantly working. That's why I tell everybody keep your customer care packages, your CCPs, up to date because they're constantly working on software. They never ever stop working on the software. They're constantly making updates. They're constantly listening to people, end users, and they're trying to figure out how things make things better, faster, and more efficient. So, just that's kind of what I see. I just see them refining the tip of the pen.
Do you want to know what I want to see?
I would love to know what you want to see. You talk to everybody, so
At Con Expo, Bobcat had a excavator in the window. It had the job plan. So like there was no control box. It was all within the window screen, and you could see where to dig, where the pipes are supposed to go. So I guess this is a form of augmented reality, but I thought that was amazing that you don't have to look over. You can just look and dig and follow that guideline right where your bucket lays, right? So I like that kind of stuff. I'm very, very techy, and I would like a personal assistant inside a machine to help me achieve what I'm trying to achieve. So like it'd be like Iron Man, he has Jarvis and he says, Jarvis, more power, whatever, right? I want that inside a machine. That's badass.
that
We're a ways away from that, but those two things are kind of what I want to see in the near future using technology. Not sure how we're going to get there, but
and I would even like to see uh, more images and more integration. It's I think that would be pretty sweet to have something like that. And they have it in cars, so there's a lot of cars I rode in my buddy's super awesome car the other day, and we all drive big trucks up here because it snows all the time, and it was fun to ride in a fancy car. And he had a little heads up display, so that's that's the one thing I thought of too. I'm like, that would be cool to have.
yeah, or even like pairing LiDAR of some sort on top of a bulldozer that can do a really fast scan. So as you're pushing dirt, after every push, it does a scan to see how much you moved and keep track of all of that. Like there's a packer that as you pack, it keeps track of your pass count and turns green when you're done because it measures the volume loss of the asphalt material
Yep.
and does all the math. Something like that, but for moving dirt would be amazing. But you need really fast lidar that's not going to break.
And when it comes to Leica is so far ahead of everybody else when it comes to their lidar technology. You never know when that's going to come. So I keep my fingers crossed, and I would love to see something like that too. And that's for the development team, and they don't always tell they don't always tell the foot soldiers what's going on. So I keep my fingers crossed and like to see something like that as well.
I bet they're going to steal my idea.
I hope so.
I
They
hope so too. I don't even like whatever. It's just an idea. I think it would be beneficial for everybody. But
they'd be pretty sweet. Just imagine hitting a button and getting your all your existing data by just one button. Do you imagine the safety features keeping people off the ground, keeping people out of harm's way by just one push of a button? That would be awesome.
let's talk a bit about Leica and safety. How are they helping people work safer?
And I always tell get online, check out the PA10 systems, uh, and fortunately I know enough about the safety systems to be dangerous.
What is the PA10? I know the PA80.
So the PA10 system is, you know, a person in a excavator will actually, excavators are the most dangerous tool, in my opinion, out on a job site. As a surveyor, I've almost been run over many, many times because, you're always in a hurry. You're always trying to put lath in the ground. You're always walking up on the wrong side of the excavator. And all it takes is, that operator to make a sudden movement, turn, not expecting you there. The nice thing about what Leica's came up with, they have these little tags, and so they have a tag for all the people on the ground that are working around the excavator, and they have tags on the excavator that can figure out where you're approaching from. So that person in the excavator, when and they could set that certain zone. So they set that zone for, let's say, 15 feet. When somebody walks in that zone, then you got it on your display in your MC1 panel. You actually see somebody walking in. You don't actually see them physically, but you'll see a red dot, and you could set your beeps and your tones differently. So I think that's a huge, major improvement that that everybody needs. We have a contractor up here where I live at. And one of his guys went on vacation, came back up, super icy, super slippery. He came onto a job site when he got back, and he walked right behind the excavator. The excavator turned, nailed him, threw him in the trench, and it cost my buddy that owned the company a lot of money, cost him a lot of time. Of course, his insurance rates skyrocketed by somebody that just came back from vacation, probably had too much partying time, and wasn't thinking about safety when he walked up on this site. And the person had no business to even be on site. But if they would have had a PA10, if he would have had a sensor, that operator would have known, not to swing that bucket. So, it's a real world application that happened to a good friend of mine, which is it's never good.
Could you give me an example of how um, geofen- geofencing can help people work safer?
Yeah, so the geofence, that's our part of our X-Watch system. And again, I'm more of a reality capture person.
Yeah.
And I'll throw that out there, but I know enough to be dangerous. So the geofence is a spectacular idea. So you have some utilities, 4 feet in the ground, 9 feet where I live at. So you can actually put a geofence around around the top of the utilities. So when you're getting closer to that geofence, you're not over excavating into your utilities. You could also put a geofence up, say, the edge of a road. So you're running that excavator, so your boom doesn't swing out to the road past your Jersey barriers. So that's some wonderful things about your geofence. You're working in a railroad right of way. The magic number in a railroad right of way is you don't want to foul the tracks. You foul that track and you stop the train, you're going to pay a lot of money down here in the U.S. And that's why you always get, you always get the people that stand around all day and make sure you're not fouling the tracks. And I think eventually you put enough geofencing up and everybody starts to see how that works and the safety component comes into it. We're going to get rid of inspectors, even on the railroad eventually. But we'll see. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I've used it before. It's actually really easy to use. I wish more people would know about it and maybe try to use it. I mean, you already have the system being used for grade control and that stuff. You might as well use it for geofencing and stuff like that too, right? So
Yeah, safety is driving every single construction site right now. So I don't care what site you're on. If you're not talking about safety, everybody wants to get home to their families at the end of the day. And just because you're on some big deadline doesn't mean you should do stupid stuff. And a geofence could help save some lives. So the technology's there. Invest in the technology, which means you're just investing in your people as well.
Is there anything else you would like to talk about? I'm running out of questions for you, Mike Kervin.
You know, I appreciate the opportunity, and it's the one thing I'm a lot like you. Technology gets me all zinged up, and it's I would love to see the next generation take the ball and move it forward. I mean, that's kind of what you do it for. I mean, all the great stuff your team has done is, I think, I think you've made a big impact on this profession as well. So, and I appreciate everything that you and your team has done.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying in a bunch of different ways. A big thing that we're doing now is we're going to put a large focus on trying to attract people into construction by showing how amazing construction is, how fun it is, how much it's evolved. Like growing up in construction, the way I learned how to move dirt was getting yelled at and thrown stuff at me.
Yep.
Construction has evolved a lot, and like it's not like that anymore. Now we have an HR department, and like you can't treat people like that. So there's stigmas within construction that need to change, and I plan on helping show that online. We're doing a lot of stuff with other companies, partnerships like that are going to help that. But yeah, the next year we'll be doing lots of stuff like that. But anyway, thanks very much for coming on the podcast. Had a great chat about machine control, reality capture. If someone wants to know more about Leica reality capture, where do they go?
I would say start with the website. Figure out, just get yourself self educated first. Start with the website. If you have a dealer, contact your dealer. Look up for like a dealer around your territory, and you can always give one of us a call as well. So you can always, I don't know whether I should give me my phone number out, but you can always give me a call anytime.
I don't know if you want to do that. You might find that on the inside of an outhouse somewhere and get a bunch of calls for a
For
good
a good
time.
time.
Phone Mike Kervin.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more question. What would you say to someone thinking about going with machine control, but like, why choose Leica?
Well, when it's got to be right. That's that's the number one thing that I always say. If it's got to be right, you better use Leica. And my best friend I flunked to first grade with always says, lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. So you only have three different options. And my path is, you better lead. So there's no reason following anybody. And you definitely don't want to get out of anybody's way. But when it's got to be right, you better buy Leica equipment.
That's perfect. We'll end it with that. Thanks very much.
I really appreciate all your time. Thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day. Thank you.